topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Who is January Jones? She is not a young, beautiful, talented actress on Mad Men. She is not an older, gorgeous, exotic dancer from the Johnny Carson Show. She is an author, and she wrote, Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. She is a reality TV golf personality with World High Stakes Golf televised on HDNet. She is a humorist and winologist expert. She is your featured host today on January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and listen to Ms. Jones with her eclectic roster of guests as you learn life's lessons. These stories plus sharing equals success. Welcome, and remember, beware, because you are entering the no whining world of January Jones.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm January Jones, and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast today. As you can see, I'm wearing my silver hat and I have my silver cane. And we're getting ready to launch my new brand, Glitter Granny Gifts. And at that, I will be an associate affiliate at Amazon.com. We will be promoting and selling everything that glitters and glows to give or get. Coming soon, the website will launch and we'll give you more information as it starts to get closer and closer. Now for my listeners, let me ask you a question. Have you or any of your loved ones ever had cancer? Well, I'm pretty sure everyone listening can probably say yes to that. Tell me, have you ever met someone who has had cancer 5 times? Yeah, I know. That's amazing. Have you ever wondered how cancer affects the families and friends who are trying to help, trying to support the cancer patient? It affects everyone in a big way. Would you like to meet someone who can tell you what it is like to actually really have cancer? Tell me now, have you ever heard about an amazing book entitled The Call of Cancer? A loving pathway to wholeness, healing, and transformation. If you can answer yes or say maybe to any of these questions, then you are in the right place. And I'd like to welcome you to January Jones Sharing Senior Success. So now it's time. Get ready, relax, go get yourself some crackers, some cheese, glass of wine, whatever. Relax so you can enter and join me in the no wine zone. Today, I'm going to tell you about my guest. I'm very excited to have her here with us on the podcast. She is the co-founder and chief executive officer of the Cancer Journey Institute, the nation's first cancer coaching training organization. Her life was transformed at 2 turning points. Surviving 4 bouts of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yes, you heard me right, 4 times. And 1 bout of gastrointestinal cancer. And then she made some life-changing decisions. She decided to make coaching her profession. Hence the Panic to Powerful program. Don't you love that? I love alliteration. Panic to Powerful. Welcome. It's my pleasure to welcome to our podcast today, Shariann Tom. Hi, Sherry. How you doing?
I'm great. What a lovely introduction. Thank you, January.
I hope I did you justice. I've been so excited to have you on the show because before we went on the air, I told you that I had a personal experience 21 years ago when I lost a dear friend to cancer after 3 years. And going through that 3 years with her was just an incredible experience, good ways and bad ways. And for you to do it 5 times, I really want to talk to you about that. I want to hear about that. Before we begin your success story, would you share your background, where you were born, your early mentors, and what life was like for you growing up?
Hmm. Thank you for asking me that. Get asked that very often.
Like,
I'm a native San Franciscan.
mhm.
I come from the Chinese descent, and so um, being I strangely, it feels like San Francisco is kind of like a little version of Hawaii because I can turn around anywhere and there's always an Asian there. I think we migrated from Hawaii. My mom originally is from Hawaii, by the way.
Okay.
Um,
Uh-huh.
and cancer wasn't part of my family history. I mean, I literally am the first one. So when it showed up in my life, it was, wow, what is this?
Yeah. And so it wasn't in your DNA, so to speak. And how old were you when you had your first encounter with Mr.
Mm.
Cancer?
Mr. Cancer.
Mm.
Interesting that you say that. I want to come back to that in a moment. Um,
Okay.
I I was 38. My children were 4 and 7. So this was back in well, just we're with senior success, so I'm proud to say this because not everybody gets to
Yes.
live to hear. That was in 1998, and
Wow.
yeah, that was my first encounter. Subsequently, right, I had 5, and I want you brought up the granny glitter gifts, and I
Uh-huh.
just want to say I'm going to be a granny in September
Oh, at first time?
for the first time. So my 7-year-old is now in his 30s, and
Mm.
I'm going to
Wonderful.
be a granny. Yeah.
How exciting. I have 7 grandchildren. I have 4 boys and 3 girls. And I always tell everyone, grandchildren are your reward for not killing your children.
Well, this is one of those, dreams, the
Uh,
thing that kept me going through all those cancers I mean, really specifically was I wanted my children to have a mommy, and I want it to be this one.
yeah, yeah. And you wanted to someday be a granny
Yeah,
that glitters and glows, and you certainly are. Do you know if you're having a little baby boy or girl yet?
it's
Or
going to be a girl.
well, that's even better.
I know. My daughter-in-law said when she found out that it was a girl, she goes, "Okay, everybody's taken care of now."
Yes, yes. Well, when I found out I was getting my granddaughter, I was in the room with the doctors where they do the test, and it turned out it was twins, a boy and a girl.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I heard a boy, and I was happy and happy. And then when they said girl, I said, I've got to go shopping. Oh, that'll be wonderful. And do they live near you?
They do. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
even
very
better.
fortunate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's lovely, lovely. Okay, so going back, you were 38, you had a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And how did this come about? Did you have symptoms, or how did you discover you had cancer?
Yeah. I felt a lump in my neck. Every once in a while I still go back to it. And I come from a bumpy family. So I have a lot of siblings. I have 4 brothers and a sister.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sorry, 3 brothers and a sister. I added one. And they always over the years have gotten, just little bumps, fatty deposits. And I was like, oh, okay, it's my turn. And so I'm like, okay, this book, just a little, family bump. Except that, how you get that feeling of something's not quite right.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Oh,
I was, I said this in my book. We were driving to a camp. My husband and I and the kids were driving to a camping trip, and just this fear just kind of overtook me, and I couldn't stop touching the lump, obviously. And I
uh-huh.
said to my husband, I think it's growing legs. And I mean, that immediately frightened him. I mean, he was like, well, it was a Saturday and was like, what do you want me to do? Well, you want to go back home? You want to find a doctor? And I'm like, wow, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's panicking more than me. But I really felt like something's here. I need to go check it out. And that was the beginning of the journeys.
Oh my gosh. We're going to hear more about this story, but we're going to take a break. And if you know someone who whines, or if you're a whiner, this is the book for you.
Lately, there's a whining epidemic in our world. People are even whining about whining. Are you sick and tired of listening to everyone whining all the time? So was January Jones, the author of Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment that reached #1 at Amazon.com. Ms. Jones based her book on a survey of the top 10 things that people whine about at all ages and all stages of life. January is a success coach that can tell you how to help others. When you buy Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment, you'll find out what people whine about and how to stop them from whining. This is the perfect gift book to give or get for any occasion. Thou Shalt Not Whine was voted the best gift to be given anonymously for those special people in your life. Ms. Jones is an internationally known author in the style of Irma Bombeck, specializing in housewife humor, with her book being published in Korea and China. You can find Thou Shalt Not Whine at Amazon.com.
Also, for my listeners, that book is now available in Audible. We're back with Shariann Tom, who is definitely not a whiner because she is a winner. And Shariann, before we go on any further, share your contact information, your organization, and where our listeners can get your information or your book.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So to reach me, you can reach me at Shariann, SHARIANN, at thecancerjourney.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can also just go straight to our website, which is thecancerjourney.com, and plethora of information. To get our book, like you, we're on Audible. We're also on Amazon as a paperback and as a digital.
Okay, that's great to hear. Shariann's book will be featured at Glitter Granny Gifts because there's going to be a section with bookshelf. And these will be books from people who have been on my podcast, people that we've all met and know and love, and books that I can personally recommend. So when we launch the website, your book will be right up there, Sherry.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your information too. So let's look at this timeline of 5 cancers. You were 38 the first time it happened. How old were you the next time?
It was a whole whopping year and 1 month.
Okay.
So that it came back, and that came back. The thing about lymphoma is that it moves, and my particular lymphoma is supposed to be very predictable if it is going to reappear, and it wasn't. It decided that it wanted to change sides, show up differently, and so we're getting pretty concerned, and so I'm at this point going, that's really fast, a year and a month. I feel like I just finished treatment. Let's kind of throw the whole kitchen sink at it. And my doctors were pretty excited about being able to do that. So I had high dose chemo, radiation, and a stem cell transplant.
Oh, wow. Wow. You really
Yeah.
did well. Oh, transplant. Wow. Okay. So chemo, radiation, transplant. How long did you do chemo for?
I can't even remember that time. Probably about 6 months,
6 months.
and then a full month of radiation.
Okay.
I know they threw me into the hospital, and they were obliterating what immune system I had left. They had already taken out. I luckily I got to have my own stem cell back. They took it out, kept it in on cryo.
Yeah. I've had that.
Okay,
You know,
and then once they took me down to like zero immune system, they gave it back to me, and I needed to be in. I felt like I was the boy in the bubble.
oh, yes, yes. Oh, for sure, for sure. Wow. So you were at this point approaching 40?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And so let's look at this timeline and then we can come back and discuss it all further. And so, how did you get a reprieve from cancer?
I
A rem-
did. It lasted for about 3 years.
uh-huh. Yeah.
And then they said, "Oh, here we go. We're finding it in a different part of your body."
Uh-huh.
Um, and that time, the recovery from the kitchen sink
Yeah.
treatment was way too devastating. So I opted for something that I felt like I could handle. I
Yeah.
didn't think that I would be able to handle anything really significant, and so I went with radiation only,
Uh-huh. Okay.
and that was for like a month and a half. And
Wow.
right, we think that it's lighter, but it's a kind of a cumulative effect. So that one took me way down.
Okay. Oh, I'm sure it did. Just psychologically,
Right.
because when you go into remission, you think, wow, this is, I beat it maybe, but it's so hard to beat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're trying to go back into your life. It's like,
Yeah.
and I encourage everyone to not let it stop you. Like,
Yeah.
please re-engage as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm hoping here you're going to tell me you had an incredible support system.
Yes, I did. What was very lovely
Mhm.
is that we had something called a Share the Care group. And so that was family and friends. And, the amazing thing about cancer is there are people who show up that you didn't know would. And
Yeah.
so I had a cousin who, not as strange, but was distant. And she was right there for me. And they would take turns taking me to my treatments. After you can imagine, after the stem cell transplant, I had to have 24/7 care, and so people took turns to just sit and be with me.
No. Oh, how
Yeah,
wonderful. I
yeah,
know. I know. I spent many hours with my dear friend during her chemo, and it got to be like we started to know people. And then, of course, some people would not come back. And it was
yes,
just devastating. And we were all kind of like in the boat rowing together, hoping to
yeah.
get through it. It's you really, without a support system, it's probably impossible. Don't you agree?
Yes,
Mm.
yes. The
Yeah.
nice thing now is even those who don't have a big family unit, there are again those people that are willing to show up for you.
Hmm.
We of course have coaches that can be there for you, but other people who you would not have known
Yeah.
within the medical system or just your life. It that I think is one of the most refreshing parts is that we don't have to do it alone, and you don't know who's going to show up for you.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. Yeah, yeah. And interesting, sometimes the people you think will show up are missing in action.
Yeah,
And that's a blow.
it's a huge blow.
That's a blow.
I
Yeah.
I became quite estranged from a couple of friends thinking, why? I mean, because there's this feeling of abandonment when the ones you really feel confident they're going to be here and then they're not.
Oh, I know. Devastating, devastating. Panic to Power. I love that name because I said I'm really into alliteration. How did you come up with that? I mean, it's a
No,
great description.
well, panic is kind of a norm
Yeah.
that happens within the cancer journey. So, I mean, if anyone's wondering if they're going to glide through, there will be moments of panic. But what I know that I wanted the most, and I kind of feel like I'm an expert at cancer, that I chose to do that,
Yes.
January. It just, after 5 times, you just kind of know how this works.
Yeah.
You don't know how your body's going to respond, but you know the process.
Yeah. It's your path.
And yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I forgot
Panic
what
to
the
Power.
question was that you asked me.
I say
Oh,
it's
power to panic.
Panic to
What
Power,
I
perfect path.
what I wanted the most was to feel powerful again.
Yes, right. Of course you did. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I've got you at 2. And what happened the third time? That's
Okay, so the third time was radiation only. The fourth time,
uh-huh.
um, it came back. Was I think it was 3 years. 3 years. So here we go. And I went back to Stanford, and this is how I remember the treatment. They probably said it was something else, but I think they said something like, "We're going to give you Stanford FU," and I'm like, "That's quite an appropriate name." There was
Yeah.
going to be 12 sessions of that,
Um,
with each session taking 3 weeks. So it was a really long time.
so this is chemo again, or
Yeah,
FU. Yeah.
right.
I love it. Okay, what a perfect description. Oh gosh. Okay, so you're talking 12 sessions, and each one took how many weeks?
But the process was 3 weeks for me. I would get it, then it would, do its
Yeah.
hopefully magic, and
Uh-huh.
then I would be coming out of that treatment, and then I would go through another one. So,
Oh, God. Yeah. And
right.
as I recall, my friend was horribly sick after these things, and I'm sure you were too. And how do you keep going back? How do you keep going back for more? I mean, she
Well,
was
that key, it's like we all need that one thing or something, a vision of what you want at the end. And I still wanted to be at my kids' graduations. I wanted to be there to teach them how to drive, to ride their bike, to the first. And
Mhm.
again, I'm so lucky and grateful that I got to do that, but that
Wow.
was my guiding light. That
Mhm.
was my guiding light.
Yeah. And were each of these 4 things Hodgkin's lymphoma? Was it the
That
same type?
the four,
Okay.
yes. But
Okay.
it
I
started here, right?
uh-huh.
Went all the way down to
Uh,
my groin.
oh, wow. Okay. I've talked to people who've had cancer 3 times that have been here with us on the podcast. Now, you're setting a record for this podcast.
I,
So
somebody else could beat my record. I don't want
yeah,
to.
gladly give it up. Gladly give it up for sure. Well, before we go on to this next segment of your powerful path, I want to share with everyone that 60 years ago, an assassination happened, and people are still asking who killed Kennedy.
Let me ask you a question. Are you still wondering who killed Kennedy? Over 50 years later, the assassination is still a mystery. It is unfinished business for our country. Now, get ready for a theory that you've never heard before, but will make more sense than any other conspiracy theory that you've ever heard in the past. January Jones speaks the unspeakable in her book, Jackie, Ari, and Jack, The Tragic Love Triangle, connecting Jackie and Aristotle Onassis romantically prior to JFK's assassination. Did you know that Ari was Jackie's guest in the White House during the JFK funeral? He was the only non-family member who was invited by Jackie to stay there during the funeral. Aristotle Onassis was one of the wealthiest men in the world, with the means, the motive, and the money to order an assassination that was the perfect crime of the last century. Ari needed class, and Jackie needed cash. They were perfect for each other. Now, what is Camelot? It is but another tragic love triangle. Jackie, Ari, and Jack is available at JanuaryJones.com, Amazon.com, and audiobooks.com, read by Ms. Jones.
Welcome back with Shariann Tom. Before we talk about the Cancer Journey Institute and Shariann becoming a cancer coach, what happened how long were you in remission before you had your 5th encounter with Mr. Cancer?
So everyone throws out the 5-year mark, and I reached it, and we had a grand celebration.
Oh,
We
I
went
bet.
on a cruise, my whole family. I was so delighted.
Yeah.
And then year 6, I think it's year 6 or year 7,
Mm-hmm.
probably year 6. This just shows up. Threw everybody off guard. They're like, "Oh yeah, we don't think that's a secondary cancer. What is it? It's a gastrointestinal stromal tumor, so it's not related to the lymphoma." And then it was found in my rectum.
Oh dear. Oh dear. So it was related to the lymphoma.
I just found out last year that it was, but we didn't know that everybody, I mean, I even talked to the head of the Stanford lymphoma clinic, and he's like, "I don't know, Shariann." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we're going through this."
Oh,
Now, the
wow.
difference is lymphoma is a blood cancer and just as a solid. So meaning that it's a solid tumor and it's not flowing through my blood. So I got to have it removed by surgery. So, I mean, I got to experience that because when I was first diagnosed all the way at 38, the first inclination was cut it out, take it out of me. I don't want it here. And they
Yeah.
couldn't.
Oh, really?
It's a blood cancer. So
They can't take it out. Oh dear.
yeah.
Wow.
They
So
can
then,
take out the tumors, but
yeah. So then, did you have to do more chemo, or how did
I
that?
did it. I did an oral chemo. That one was really tough for me. I don't
Uh,
know if it was because they were giving me medicine for stomach cancer and it was in my rectum. I don't know, but it was really hard on my system, and every day that I tried it was just upsetting. I it wasn't working for me. I don't even know how to say this in a different way.
yeah.
It was debilitating.
Yeah.
And so after a certain amount of time, I stopped.
Oh, you just stopped taking it.
Just
Yeah.
stopped.
And that worked out, I guess, because you're here.
I'm here, and I'm going to be celebrating this year my 10-year anniversary from having that cancer.
That cancer. So, oh my gosh, you're a miracle girl, aren't you? Yeah. I bet when you walked through, they did go, "Oh, here she comes."
I know we don't want her in here anymore.
Oh, that is 10 years in remission. And let's talk about what you've been doing for the last 10 years, because I'm pretty impressed with your story. And 5 times, I've never heard anything like that before. Thank you for sharing. Now you have become a cancer coach, and tell us about this journey. It sounds very exciting.
Well, during my personal journeys, I found life coaching. This was back in 1999. So back then, life coaching really wasn't mainstream. People would say, if I said I was a coach, they'd say, "What basketball team are you coaching?" I'm 5'2", so that doesn't even make sense to me.
Oh boy.
But I found that, and the coaching community is such a warm, loving community that I found my place. I found my community, and I had coaches taking me through my journey, not from a cancer just standpoint, but more from a human standpoint.
Uh,
And I think that if I didn't have them, to process my emotions, my mindset, the fear stories going on in my head, how I was looking at life, and to help me with my spirit, because it was about this big, like a little flickering pilot light. There wasn't much aliveness happening in me. I
Mhm.
don't think I would have made it.
Yeah. Oh, well, absolutely not. I can believe what you're saying. So, it sounds to me like coaching could be super therapy in that it would be something that could show you how to go forward, how to cope,
Yes.
how to
Yeah.
cope. That would be what an amazing gift to be able to share this with other people. You're very fortunate and you're a very generous person to do this.
Oh, thank you. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
I took it to my local hospital and they said, okay, how are you going to serve the masses? And I
Mm.
went, oh, well, I can probably take on 20 people, but that's not the masses, obviously.
Right.
We hit the 2 million mark this year on
Oh,
new diagnosis. Right, just in the 2 million, first
wow.
time ever.
Oh,
Um, so
gosh.
yeah, my 20 people were not going to do it. So
So,
I started a school. I started an organization to train individuals to be cancer journey coaches.
oh, okay. So you're the main coach and you're spreading it out.
Yes, yes.
Multiplying the fish, aren't you?
Well, there's so many people, and I know that journey. I mean,
Mhm,
my heart is really connected to those on a cancer journey. So
mhm.
I want them to stand on my shoulders and my coach's shoulders, and we can lift them up so they don't have to be alone and do it so
Mhm,
difficultly. Yeah.
mhm. So you created an institute and you had a coworker that I saw in your biography. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Yes. Well, Carrie Lehman, who also is a co-author of our book,
Uh-huh.
was my fellow co-founder, and she was my very first coach.
Oh, perfect.
So when this happened, she was right there. And when I needed to start wanted to start the institute, I tapped her on the shoulder and I said, "Do you want to do this with me?" And she said immediately, "Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah."
So I'm curious, does it take to go start an institute? How do you recruit people? How do you get the funds? How does this all, oh boy, what a journey. I hope that's in your book.
Very grassroots. The lucky thing for myself and my co-founder is that we both went to a local school here in the San Francisco Bay Area called the Coaches Training Institute. It's now called the Coactive Training Institute,
Okay.
and we became instructors there. So we already had the foundation. We
Okay.
just created a lot of tools for specifically the cancer journey.
Okay. Okay. So you went to coach's school, which is an interesting concept. I've never heard about anyone else doing that. What a wonderful way to jump in, get your feet wet. And so then, how many years ago did this happen?
Oh, I did that back in 1999
Oh
when
my,
I knew that. Yeah.
oh,
Oh, you
wow.
mean started the institute, my
Yeah,
institute?
the institute,
Oh no, I started that in 2012. So
2012. Okay.
we're celebrating 12 years this year.
Okay. So, 12 years. Okay. So you had gone into remission and decided to get busy and do something creative, something very important.
Yeah.
Tell us about how did you fund it? How do you raise funds for something like that? I know it must be expensive.
And it's very grassroots. I mean,
Mhm.
being in the coaching industry for a while, I had my clientele. And so
Yeah.
I was doing corporate coaching, which is very lucrative. And
Mhm.
when I made the jump, I said, this is what I want to do. So I took my funds and that became my foundation money and
Mhm.
started that way. And then very quickly, we had people who wanted to be trained to be cancer journey coaches. And so they pay a tuition
Oh,
to be certified,
hmm.
and we're accredited by the International Coaching Federation. So, I mean, there's gravitas and meat to what we do. It's not like, ooh, I just wanted to start this.
Yeah.
It got vetted, it got analyzed. They looked at our dirty underwear and underneath the hood.
Mhm. Yeah.
Amazing. But they really did look at what we were doing to see
Well,
if we were
listen,
legit.
listening to this, I can share with my listeners this gal is the real deal. And right now, I'm going to share with you some other priceless personalities who have been on this podcast with us in the past. Have you ever met someone who was unforgettable? Someone who has touched your heart and soul? People who have faced difficult problems? People who have struggled to find solutions? People who fearlessly shared their stories? People who have not only informed you, but inspired you. People who have priceless personalities. I have been fortunate to host an internet radio talk show called January Jones Sharing Success Stories, and it has been my privilege to interview hundreds of guests. My guests have shared their stories, their struggles, their secrets, and their successes in their own words. In this book, we're talking about people dealing with problems such as incest, molestation, runaway kids, child abuse, drug abuse, polygamy, unemployment, scandal, and starting over. Then there are my guests dealing with difficult physical struggles such as blindness, cancer, and birth defects that are beyond traumatic. My guests have all been exciting, eclectic, and energizing. They have amazed, amused, and even astonished me. I have adored getting to meet them, and I adore sharing them with you.
Attention all listeners. Priceless Personalities, Success Stories Shared by January Jones, Volume 2 is now available at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle editions. You'll be able to meet 10 amazing people who will be sharing their own personal stories with all their struggles, successes, and solutions, sprinkled with lots of humor and hope. Priceless Personalities features a teenager who becomes one of the famous Supremes from Motown. A nurse who, as a humorist, helps people to heal, an inspiring laughter yoga instructor, a mother dealing with the loss of a child, an incredible motivational speaker, a woman who married 5 times, a gifted paranormal nurse, a wise economist, a funny female humorist, along with an older man sharing his sweet childhood in the Deep South. January's guests are all amazing and amusing. You will never forget meeting them. Go to Amazon.com for your own priceless experience.
Welcome back with a priceless personality on our podcast, and her book will be featured on the bookshelf at Glitter Granny Gifts coming soon. What do you say to people who have cancer and they have a fear of reoccurrence? I mean, talk about one of the most devastating things that can happen. What do you say? What do you tell them? How do you help them?
Well, I hope you don't mind if I say, I want you to meet your cancer. We all have this image of what our cancer, who our cancer is, right? You said in the beginning, Mr. Cancer, which is really quite fascinating because I created this guided imagery or
Oh,
guided meditation that you can get for free on our website. So if you just go to www.thecancerjourney.com, it'll be a pop-up and you could just download that.
uh-huh.
We'll walk you through meeting your cancer in a very safe environment. And when you do, you'll get to personify it.
Give it a
And when
personality.
you do, it's like the monster under the bed, right? When we were little kids, we're so afraid of stepping off the bed because we're afraid the monster's going to grab our feet. I mean, they made a movie about it, right? The monsters in the closet, the monsters in the bed. When
Right.
you actually get mom and dad to help you go underneath and look at the bed, dust bunnies, games, nothing scary. The same concept is with this meeting your cancer is if we can personify it, then that fear of recurrence, of it coming back, is not as great because we can actually interact with it. We can talk to it. We can
Okay.
have a conversation. We can beat it up if we want to. We can scream and shout at it.
So what you're doing is you're helping people take it from being unknown to a known entity, and you're putting it into personal perspective. As far as that's a brilliant way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, see, I always just called it Mr. Cancer, and I knew I hated him. I didn't know what he looked like or anything, but he wasn't my kind of person. And what a brilliant way to help people get through it. Wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, my cancer, obviously through 5 different bouts, has
Yeah.
morphed. And at one particular time when I did this guided meditation for myself, he showed up as a he in a tuxedo,
Okay.
which is, if you're allowing it to just come and it's like,
Yeah. Let
what are
it.
you doing? Why are you in a tuxedo? What's going on right now?
And what kind of conversations did the two of you have? I'd like to hear that.
Oh, it's been all over the map. I do revisit it when that feeling of fear comes up,
Hmm.
when I'm going to get another scan, or if I have a doctor's appointment. The fear of recurrence comes very close,
Uh-huh.
and I'll
Yeah.
I'll revisit the meditation, the visualization, and I'll get to say things, but it has been actually kinder over the years. Like, I'm just here as a reminder. Live your life.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's the important message is but that's a difficult thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when people are just laid low with the chemo and the sickness and the depression. Do you have, like in your program, do you have support groups, or how do people do you help them connect with other people who are going?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people can go to my website and look under programs and events so that they can see all the different ones that are available. We try to do free ones almost every month, so there's some place for them to go.
Yeah.
We believe in learning, and so people can learn new tools, new tricks, and just being able to talk to other people who are going through a similar space.
Sure.
We will, and soon, and are in the works of creating something specifically for caregivers. I feel like they're
Yeah.
the unsung heroes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my next question. How does helping the support group, because the support group, they get tired. They get tired and
You
they get
know this
out.
personally.
Yeah, they get worn out and they're depleted. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes. And they are not the ones we want depleted. They
yeah.
need support.
Mm,
They need to know that there's people who have their backs so that they can take care of themselves.
mhm. Well, in your opinion, what's the best way to support someone who is the victim and the support system? I would say the best way would be to go to your website, quite frankly. Hello.
Yeah, yes, yes. We wrote the book. Carrie and I wrote the book, hoping that that would be kind of like the guide as people were going through cancer, because it has the cancer journey roadmap in it, and that's very predictable. And then some tools on how to deal with where you are. So I would say if you're newly diagnosed, or even just in the middle of treatment, Amazon, you don't even have to read. You can go to Audible, turn it on, and just let yourself hear this.
Yes, yeah.
Carrie was the
Mm.
the vocals, and she's got a wonderful, beautiful, soothing voice.
Oh, I'm so glad that's an Audible, because we've discovered it with all my books. And how wonderful for someone who is sitting in that chair getting the chemo and their
Hmm.
support and to be listening to something positive. That especially on that topic, because it's a thing a lot of people don't want to talk about. Very,
Oh, you got it. Yes,
yeah,
this is so
very,
true.
yeah, very difficult. Okay, before we go, what would you like to share with us from your experience? My gosh, total lot of experience here, people. What would you like to share with us that cancer patients don't share? The things that they don't say to their loved ones. What are they? What's going on with the cancer patient?
So I think it's probably not a surprise if I say it, but it might be a surprise for people to not say, "Oh, I didn't think about that." The thing about being a cancer patient is that you you love that people are there to support you, but you're actually taking care of everybody. That you as the patient, you don't want to really tell them how tired you're feeling, how devastated, how angry, or what you're feeling emotionally, because you're afraid of impacting them.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right.
And then they do more of what you said about the caregivers, is they give more of themselves, where
Mhm.
you want them to take care of themselves, and so you're ending up taking care of everybody else and yourself.
Mhm.
So having like a gifting someone the cancer journey coach, so that the patient has a safe place, and even the caregiver has a safe place, that they don't have to take care of anybody, and they can scream and shout and process what's going on and process the cancer journey, because the caregiver is on a cancer journey, just like you said at the beginning of this,
Mhm.
as much as the patient is.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so essential for people to be able to release and to talk and to get these things out, because
Yes.
everyone's worried about what everyone else is. It's a circle of crazy caretakers all trying to.
Exactly.
In the
Exactly.
meantime, they're forgetting about themselves. That's just the way that works.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody. Yes.
that's a pretty universal situation from what I've observed. How about share with us a little bit about your own family? How has it all impacted them? How are they
Mm.
doing as your personal family?
I think it definitely brought us much closer. One of the things that we said at the very beginning, my husband and I, with our kids, is that we were going to tell them the truth
Oh,
as much as they could handle at the different ages that they were.
yeah.
And that has made it a very safe, close relationship, where my kids said to me, they said, "We don't ever lie to you, because why?"
Hmm. Hmm.
For them, the chance of losing their mommy was devastating enough. So it's like, I'm embracing this relationship. And I never thought that my kids would be interested in the work that I do, but my daughter works for us now.
Oh, okay.
I know. I mean, that's how close we are. And it's a joy. She is the best person in the role that she's in. And so I'm not like, I don't call it nepotism, but it's just lovely to have her close in
That's
this meaningful, powerful work that we do.
what
Yeah.
is special. Thank you for sharing that. That's very special. We've come to the end of our time together, and I hope you, listeners, have enjoyed your time with us today. And I hope you've learned a lot. It's been fun sharing with you. My upcoming guests will all be exciting and energizing, just like Shariann. Next week, I have someone come on who wrote the Lucy book. I love Lucy, like we all do. So we'll be talking
Oh,
about that. It'll be fun. As for my 80-year-old's perspective, I want to say that I am grateful, because I have realized no matter how much chocolate I eat, my earrings still fit. Signing off from the Glitter Granny Gifts. For now, thank you for entering the No Wine Zone with us, and please share your stories in our show with everyone you know. And remember, stop whining, start smiling, and if that doesn't work, you can just start eating chocolate. Lots and lots of chocolate. Again, Shariann, thank you very much. To our friends,
Thank you.
Take care and stay safe until we meet again.
We want to thank you for listening to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Always remember Ms. Jones' personal mantra, if you can think it, you can do it. That's what all of our guests have done with their lives, and so can you. You are the ultimate success coach in your own life. All you need to do will be to start sharing your own story with your family and friends. We hope that our guest stories will encourage you to explore an equation in your future that will combine your creativity plus connecting with others will enable you to be successful too. Always remember, your passion plus your purpose will equal prosperity as you explore the wonderful world of January Jones.